Coming up, the two principles from an 80s rock band that is a true mystery. First of all, they had two huge hits that everybody knows. Only the first one wasn't actually a hit. It was sung by the drummer, and it got a lot of MTV and radio play, but it stalled at number 49, and most people would think it'd be a number one hit. And then the band had a huge number one in 1984 that was actually top 3 on all the charts, dance, rock, and pop. And it seemed like these guys were poised for superstardom. And then they found out that their managers had been misappropriating the profits earned by this band from its records and its live performances since day one. And the lawsuit that followed kept the band from recording anything for over a decade. Coming up next, this band tells the story of their number one hit. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you want the straight stories behind rock's legendary hits straight from the artist, make sure to subscribe below right now. Big red button, click the bell so you always know when our new ones are dropping. Also, check out our exclusive content on Patreon, our latest merch. Both those things help this channel go. And we've got our vintage years collection from a famed artist, Thomas Estrada. So check that out. So I'm excited to bring you yet another episode from our series, Revelations. This is where featured artists go deep on their greatest songs and albums. Today's episode for me was a major toss-up. Could have been Bottle Lightning, could have been Revelations. It's the story of a band that had 3 hits and then disappeared for 11 years due to a lawsuit that stole their best years from them as a group. I'm talking about the Romantics. They burst onto the scene with the 1980 classic What I Like About You that has become one of the most played songs on classic rock radio ever. But surprisingly, it was not a hit song. It actually stalled at number 49. What I like about you hold me tight. And then a few years later, the band released the song Talking in Your Sleep. It shot to number 3 pop as well as number 2 on the rock charts and number 1 on the dance charts. And then a follow-up song, One in a Million, crept into the top 40 after that. And everything was looking up for this new wave power pop band. That's how I describe him. And then their next album, Rhythm Romance, completely tanked. No singles from it hit the top 40, and they're actually dropped from their label, Sony. And then they found out their management had been misappropriating the profits that this band had earned from this album sales, single sales, and their tour, their live performances. Also, one of their early hits, the aforementioned What I Like About You, had been licensed for use in television commercials without the band's knowledge or even their approval. So to take back their legacy, what was rightfully theirs, the Romantics filed a lawsuit against their management, and this happened in '87, and the legalities involved, they prevented the band from recording or releasing any new music until the mid-90s. As the band won the lawsuit, actually, against his former management and had the freedom to record again, it guaranteed that the future earnings from the licensing of the Romantic songs would go to the band. From this point, the band's songs would feature in so many films and compilations from the best of the 80s, and they would tour again, and they still do to this day. Coming up is a great story. Singer Wally Palmer and guitarist Mike Skill from the Romantics tell us the story of this ditty, the iconic song, the 80s hit, Talking in Your Sleep, and some of their other hits. As we go into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Bubs Naturals, makers of Bubs Collagen that fuels the body with amino acids to replenish and turn back the clock on aging. Now that I'm well into my 40s, I knew that I needed to pay more attention to nutrition than ever before because I don't plan to slow down for a looming life. Life is all about choices, and I choose to maintain a healthier lifestyle to be the best husband and the best father and be the best that I can be at my profession. So I add Bubs Collagen, the purest protein on the planet, to my everyday regimen. I can feel the results because the collagen absorbs quickly into my body rather than just passing through and being eliminated. The collagen powder is easy to blend into hot or cool beverages and to cook with. Believe me, I have no time or patience to mess with a product that isn't ultra convenient to apply. That's another reason why I recommend Bubs Naturals Collagen and MCT oil powder to my friends in the Professor of Rock community that have the same goals that I have. It truly complements an active lifestyle. Click on the link below to get Bubs Naturals Collagen and other products delivered straight to your door so that you can die young as late as possible. Here's Wally and Mike. The Romantics could overtake any genre in rock. Talking in Your Sleep was such a new wave masterpiece that it put everybody from the Police to the Talking Heads on notice. That song, the layering of the guitar, the da-na-na-na, and then it's got the other guitar part. Tell me about that song.
I was out of the band for about a year and a half. Drummer felt another change needed to be made, and some different sounds, and creative, like we weren't getting along. I don't want to wear this all the time. It's your creative going on. And I was out, and over that time, all these new romantic groups were coming out of England. But you had XTC and Squeeze, the real soulful groups. So I'm going to those shows and listening. These guys are still on the road to it. So I'm just like regurgitating some new stuff, starting to work on other stuff, and had a bunch of tunes when I came back in with these guys. They had ideas. We put them together. A bass line that I did at a rehearsal. We were just jamming with it. And it didn't do anything at the time until we got in the studio. And at the end of the studio, we had recorded the whole record in heat, and we needed one more song. And they go, the producer asked, what about that one idea you have? And we all came together, and we all did something with that basic idea, that basic James-ish, Jamerson-ish song.
Yeah, totally.
Sugar pie, honey, but you know that I love you.
It's not, it's not exactly what he did, but it's along the same vibe, Detroit. And there's all this new romantic stuff going on. So it's pop with a dance, with a Stones, with a Detroit.
Yeah, because it hit number 1 on the dance charts, hit number 2 on the rock charts, number 3 on the pop charts, and then it hit the top 10 or top 20 in every part of the world.
You know, the crazy thing about that is that the song, we didn't do the song because we didn't record it at the time when we did all the other songs for the In Heat album. But, but it was still there, and it was the last song. We said, okay, we have one more idea left here. The producer wanted us to go in and do it. We laid it down, last song to be recorded, and it ends up being the lead track for the album.
Yeah.
Tell them the story about the guy that, the janitor.
James Brown recorded I Feel Good in Criteria Studios. I kind of heard you recorded there, but I didn't know it was I Feel Good. I don't know if I think it was Criteria there, that same studio. And then you had Allman Brothers, Aretha Franklin, Eric Clapton, all those guys in that studio. And this guy, this black cat's in there. He's a cleanup guy or whatever he's doing. He helps out and all the studio stuff, tapes, rewinding tapes, whatever. We finished the track, and he goes, I got to tell you, I heard a lot of songs, and I always pick them. He goes, that song is going to be your hit. That song is going to be the hit.
Yeah, he's sweeping up, and then he stops.
He had been there and heard all these guys.
That's your hit right there, and he's continuing.
He's been around probably since.
That was it.
And we're putting our coats on, leaving. Yeah, okay, sure.
Wow, he called it.
Yeah, he
sure did.
It sold 1 million copies. The song itself,
more than we know about.
Yeah, and the new wave feel to it, the big dance groove, but also the lyrics, because it's got that kind of hypnotic, the lover in her sleep is talking about, at least she's saying positive things, right?
You got to write something to get to the title. So whatever, if you got a good title, you could kind of jibber jabber, but it was good all the way through. You have to remember what was on the charts at the time too. I mean, you had Prince was coming up.
Yeah.
Prince was coming up. The dance stuff was happening. Yeah. The stuff from out of Duran Duran was coming up.
The Police, Synchronicity came out that year. And that song was, I remember hearing it as a kid and being into new wave and thinking, that's one of the best new wave songs I've ever heard, because the guitar and the way that it just is it's a perfect pop song. It really is.
It's the most English, probably the charts were the most English they were in a long time.
Oh yeah. Spandau Ballet.
Yep, I was trying to remember the name.
Yeah, and a lot of these
Roxy
different
Music were coming back.
Roxy Music, exactly. Well, and the video, of course, was such a classic. And I always read as a kid about the video when you guys had to record at 8 o'clock in the morning.
We were out somewhere, we played somewhere, and we came home.
We flew into Detroit the night before, because we had a show, so we flew in the night before, checked into the hotel and said, okay, you guys got to be up at 6 o'clock to go film the video.
It was like 4 o'clock to be there at 6 o'clock.
Right.
Something like that.
And then the girls in their pajamas. And did you guys have that idea? Was that part of the treatment? Were you part of that?
Well,
or
we
was
knew
that-
we didn't want to do what the other director wanted to do. He wanted to do squirrels in the woods and water rushing and snow and I don't know what. But something like that.
The one thing that we did know is that no matter what they had planned, because they had planned out certain things without us, we knew that we were going to at least go in the studio and do a performance anyways.
Right.
So how they were going to integrate the both and what they were going to film, we were going to find out once we went in there the next morning.
Oh, yeah.
And we found out, you know,
Leonetti was a director.
Matt Leonetti.
Matt Leonetti was he's the lighting director on the early. He did all the lighting on Poltergeist. He was the main guy, and then he came in to do direct videos, and that was one of his first videos.
And a great
They did a good
vocal on
job.
that song as well. It's a song, again, that stand the test of time.
Tell me that you love me.
Bucks Fizz covers
Yes,
it,
right.
and it goes to the top 20 in the UK.
I hear the secrets that you keep.
Snoop Dogg,
yeah.
right?
I hear the secrets that you keep.
But what is really cool is Weekend.
Yeah,
When the Weekend
Weeknd,
put it, Starboy, I mean, that's amazing.
It's like the
'cause
next
that-
generation
they call,
from-
they call that guy the new Michael Jackson because his voice sounds
Sure.
so similar. But you can tell that he grew up on 80s
Yeah.
music.
I hear the secrets that you keep.
same
Very
thing with
close.
Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
He talked about it.
When Bruno Mars did Locked Out of Heaven, I could definitely hear the Police and
The
the
80s
Romantics
influence.
in that song.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
What I'm gonna say is really cool is having
Yeah.
What I Like About You and then a dance song that's really cool.
I
That's
know.
that's you're crossing some things.
Yeah.
That's true. That's what I like about you.
That's what I say. You
Yeah.
guys cross genres because you had power pop,
Yeah.
and then you come into new wave, and like I said, it kind of
Yeah.
put some bands on
Hey,
notice. Like,
listen.
yeah,
Talking in your sleep got us on Soul Train.
yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
Dick Clark, don't get much better than that.
Well, probably one of the greatest wonders of the world for pop music is What I Like About You. How the heck that wasn't a song that went straight to #1 when it came out?
What I like about you. You hold me tight.
Because that, since there have been probably 70% of the #1s that have been are not as big as that
So
song.
what was on radio is what kept it from doing it because it was Saturday Night Fever.
John Travolta, Saturday Night Fever.
I remember when I first heard the guitar, man.
Yeah.
And then you're hey, it's like it just shakes you up. When you guys put that song together, 'cause you guys wrote it, tell me about that process.
Much different with any other song. It's
Yeah.
just that you kind of don't think and you kind of just play and feel. And then you take it to your rehearsal studio and it went like that. The drummer was there, I was there, and it became something at that spot. These guys came in and we all kind of, it's that soup, that ingredients. I wanted always, he knows it too, we always stick like that the 3-chord thing, simplicity, and thinking we're going to have a good chorus and
That's what I like about you. What I like about you.
it's really keeping that up front. I mean, MC5 had their single out in '67. Looking at You came out, and it was like The Who, Yardbirds, and James Brown because they were like a soul. They were tight.
Bang it on, bang it on. Bang it on, bang it on, bang it on. Bang it on, bang it on, bang it on.
And that's the next step from that. To me, in my
Yeah.
heart, is What I Like About You coming from that energy from what
Over,
looking at
under,
you.
sideways, down.
Yeah, all
kinda
that
a
stuff,
cousin
yeah.
to that song. Cousin to Cherry Cherry.
And then with his guitar and his harp on it.
You know what's interesting? Too bad we didn't have a way to give you. There's footage of us playing at a small club in Detroit with us doing What I Like About You after we had just come up with the idea. And you can see the difference from us, from that footage right there, how it evolved eventually till the time we went in to record the first album.
When you go up, down, jump around, think about true romance.
there. Yeah.
The lead vocal was phrased differently, and this was here, that was there. A little bass solo before the harmonica, you know, a little bass line coming there before the harp blows and stuff. So
That's from Fred Smith's band.
Yeah, it evolved. It evolved, you know, quite a bit.
Well, that harmonica. Oh my gosh, I love
We
that.
had the verse. Jimmy was singing the verse on the other side instead of on the beat that he's on. He was on the other side. And it had a bass solo. We had been jamming with. We played with Sonic Rendezvous Band. We had seen Sonic Rendezvous, and he always had that bass coming in the middle.
You know, so by the time we went into the studio to record the first album, the producer, Pete Solly, you know, he came in and we worked on all the songs on the album, plus some, and he kind of streamlined. He said, we don't really need the bass solo at that point. Let's just hit it hard. Let's do a hey and then go right to the harp solo. And that and little other things, hand claps here and there, and whatever, and the simplicity of the song, and the, you know, the two guitars working together, you know, and the flowing bass line. It just
Such a
worked.
great sing-along too. I mean, kids hear it. First time my kids heard it, it was exactly like the first time I heard it. They were singing along. By the midway into the song, they knew the song because it's got that great sing-along. And then also, I guarantee you, John Mellencamp had to have heard that song because
we played, you don't understand. We played a show in Detroit, and we had the red leather suits, and he was still like a metalish kind of band. Metal.
Johnny Cougar.
He was still metal. Down, 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 down. And we came on, and we were like, "What is this?" You know, red suits. Our guitars were clear ringing guitars. Hey, And the next thing you know, months later, his guitars completely were ringing the next album.
He took the harp part.
Totally.
It's cool because songs influence
Sure.
other songs and they just bring the whole world together. I love
We took
that.
it as a compliment.
When it didn't hit, when I went to number 49, I always want to ask you guys this, were you frustrated? Because to me, that's like a no-brainer. Like, how is that song not a huge, I mean, it's huge.
I was just put the next one out. Here, I put the next thing out. The next was just as
You
good.
got to understand that us, you know, growing up on top of all that stuff, watching TV in Detroit, we used to watch American Bandstand.
England, right? No. From Detroit.
So when What I Like About You comes out, we're on American Bandstand. That, for myself, and I'm sure for Mike, for all of us, we saw, you know, footage of it later on that, wow, we're actually on that show.
The Romantics. Denver, Jimmy, come on down here. I'll let you do the introductory chorus.
We're there with Dick Clark. I said, that was great. Are you kidding me? Fantastic.
We had there were local TV shows. Swinging Time was a guy out of Canada. He had the Bugs on there. He had the MC5 was on there. The Time, local group, The Time. All the Bob Seger was on there in the early days when he was writing protest songs. Yeah, that was our meat and potatoes show.
Well, like you said, though, down the road, the song maybe crack the top 40 or whatever, you know, but longevity, though. Look how big the song is now. It's bigger now than what
it was
when
on
came
MTV
out.
all the time because it was in regular rotation because you guys had the music video for it.
That's what I like about you. That's what I like about you.
And it came out like, 81 when MTV hit, but also in the commercials. I remember seeing on Saturday morning TV when I was a kid and saying, oh, this is a song I love. And then it just grew from there in the 90s and it just grew a life of its own, you know?
Absolutely.
And it's still going.
You have to give credit where credit's due. The original drummer I worked with from high school, and his kick drum was my rhythm, was the same groove, and it was a connection. There was a connection in all the writing. I mean, you still got that. I mean, now you're grown up, you don't have to.
So was it something when you were playing it, you started going, hey, and then
When we started, I did a haze. I started doing some haze, and ahas comes from like the old rock and roll stuff. But I'm thinking Latin Upelu. over, under, sideways, down. That stuff. And
Definitely.
we're all throwing stuff around, and it's just like magic's happening. But
And Michael Morales covers it. Been on how many movies? Freaky Friday and
Countless
13 going on
dozens of
30 and,
movies. Yeah.
and 5 Seconds of Summer cover it.
Yeah.
yeah.
When the punk band Suicide Machines, when they covered it,
From
I
Detroit.
love that
That's
because
right.
it had that punk energy. I mean, the song has that punk energy to it, right? And so it seemed like appropriate that would be the case. Also, Shrek 2, that was
Well,
cool.
you can't stop something with a certain vibe, certain energy. It's
Yeah.
not like we're pushing it. That's another thing. The song goes up. It was coming up the charts. Then it slowed down and stopped. And there was no knack hype like from Capitol, millions of dollars to push it up. There was none of that happen. It just started sitting down. And then MTV came along and Bud Light came along. And then MTV kicked it over the top.
That's a phenomenal
Yeah.
song. And it's just something that, and you guys know this because you play it all over the world. The second that they hear that riff, everybody's singing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's also at sporting events and stuff. They go to a timeout or a commercial break and they throw it on.
Poison covered it too.
There's nothing else like it on radio. I mean, there's no video that was like it at the time.
It's a song that 500 years
Jumped
from
out.
now they'll still be hearing it. And that's
Yeah.
cool to know that you guys wrote a song like that. I always loved the band named The Romantics, and it's just so surprised that no one grabbed it before them. And they still kill it in concert. Oh, what a comeback story. Leave us a comment about this amazing song and about The Romantics. What are your memories of the song? All their songs, really. What songs did you think were hits that you were later surprised to find out that they weren't? I couldn't believe that What I Like About You wasn't a hit. If you dig our content, make sure to subscribe below. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Check us out on Patreon. Help us keep the music alive. That's the idea. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.